Thank you so much for coming in to check out another episode of Jiu-Jitsu Radio. Before we get this episode started, however, I wanted to do something a little bit different and give you a heads up on what we're going to be talking about today. Today we're covering the Triad Combat presented by Triller Fight Club. It's going to be presented on FITE TV, and it's not just a new fight sport, but it's also going to be a Metallica concert. So all you need to do to check it out, don't wait until the last minute, go to FITE.TV and look up Triad Combat and sign up. It's $2.99. We spend way more on drinks and food and all kinds of other stuff. If you're a fight fan, I think you're going to enjoy this. I'm super excited for it. I will be there in person. So make sure you check out the YouTube channel and the Instagram channel for a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I'll be bringing my camera, taking photos, but for sure, this is going to be something you are going to want to check out and you don't want to miss it. So head over to FITE.TV and look up Triad Combat. They also have a ton of other different fight sports, whether it's MMA leagues, they'll do grappling matches, a lot of wrestling, a lot of motorsports. It's a really cool site, FITE.TV. Look up Triad Combat. And without any further ado, I am so stoked to bring in the next guest. She's been on the podcast before. She's a good friend of mine and someone that I actually consider a little bit of a mentor just because she is so knowledgeable about the entertainment industry, the fight industry, and just a ton of things in general. She's an amazing human being. My good friend, the Chief Marketing Officer of FITE TV, Kim Hurwitz. Ladies and gentlemen, straight from outer space, she's back. Sean's not with me here today, but she's back. Where are you now? You're in Vegas now. You moved. You're all over the place. Kim Hurwitz, marketing manager for FITE TV. Are you director? You're full director. You run everything over there.
Demotion after demotion.
No way. You're running
marketing officer.
Chief marketing officer. Yeah, because you literally run all of the marketing for FITE TV.
Yes.
How does it feel like to never sleep?
Well, that's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
It's been, especially because this year we were acquired by TrillerNet and their suite of companies. So we carry all of their, whenever they have something they want to do on pay-per-view, well, we're their ESPN.
Yeah.
So we help them, but we're very hands-on with them. We get involved with marketing and PR and operational things and all sorts of creative decisions. You know, it's pretty collaborative company, which is nice. And but we still operate as a standalone company too. We have the ability to do things that might be considered a competition to them. So if it's a Showtime boxing thing or a Top Rank or I don't know, something from a different provider, we can go off and just take care of it on our own. So.
Let's take a step back though, because the one thing that obviously from the last time that you came on, and I think there's still some confusion on originally what FITE TV was to where you are now.
Yeah, that's fair. We're still very involved in combat sports. That's our sweet spot, probably always will be, because it's great pay-per-view, and that's a very important business model to us. I think you're going to start seeing us move more into doing more subscription options because we have quite a few now. And, you know, that's a thing that investors like. So everyone likes subscriptions. So we'll be doing that. But we love pay-per-view because it's just sometimes you have to put up a big guarantee, but a lot of times it's a rev share. So it's a little less risk. It's you and the promoter. You're both kind of, you know, putting all your eggs in the basket and you want to make it work. So, and that's just something we just know how to do quite well. The company's approaching 6 years in its existence, I guess. It started out probably in the early days. It was probably only pro wrestling because our COO had a deep wrestling background and there just was a lot of it. And you know, pro wrestling's been around a long time. They know how to do pay-per-view. Yeah. So it was good to kind of just follow that model. And then it just gradually mushroomed into doing different things, you know, MMA and all sorts of grappling, boxing, you name it. And then when the pandemic occurred, which was only a few months before when I came on the show with you and Sean, about almost a year and a half ago, we were right in the thick of it, and everybody was just like, what the hell? What are we doing now? And we had already decided to branch out a little bit into motorsports and soccer and music and other entities. But that really accelerated. That probably accelerated our growth, at least by a year or two. And actually, it was by far our best year ever. I remember on that show that we had, we talked about what's Mike Tyson doing, if you recall, and because he was like popping up in AEW shows and just he was just kind of popping up everywhere. And then there was, he kept talking, he kept showing footage where he's working out and hitting the heavy bet and kind of getting in shape. And we thought, all right, something's afoot, and something was afoot. And Triller was the company that got he and Roy Jones Jr. to do an exhibition match, and they threw a little guy named Jake Paul on there to fight Nate Robinson, from the NBA, and everyone else was kind of, standard boxers. And it was the 8th biggest pay-per-view of all time and the biggest one of last year. And so FITE was involved, and a couple of us knew Ryan from previous jobs and stuff like that, so that we weren't a complete unknown to him. And also In Demand and all traditional cable and satellite were in there. And, since then we've done a bunch of Triller fights.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny because when the first one, they started doing the first one, everyone was kind of confused. Like, why do they have bands or the artists playing in between like the fights and stuff like that? It's like, you're just going to have to go with it. Like, take the experience, you figure it out after, see what it is. And I think little by little, it started to kind of resonate with people a little bit more, because it threw me off too. I mean, granted, I go in, it's like, I want the next fight. Let's go. Let's see. I want to see the next fight. So having that in between kind of throws you off. But then at the end, you realize that some fights are not going to be bangers. They're going to be pretty snooze fest. So you're just going to be like, I'll take this break for now to go watch it. But I want to go back to something that you said as far as, when we talked towards the beginning of the pandemic to now, when did you see the shift kick in for your end of things? Of obviously people realized, hey, we're not going to be getting to go to concerts anytime soon. We don't know when's the next time we're going to have a huge group gathering. We can't stop this machine. We can't stop having events. So when did you start seeing the change of, we need somebody that can stream this for us, can broadcast, can pay-per-view this for us and get it out there?
I don't know if I can pinpoint exactly like what month or what event happened. It was probably a confluence of a few different things that kind of came together. And then it just, before you knew it, it's like, wow, we're kind of busy. I would say because the Tyson Jones fight happened at the end of November. I mean, we're coming up to kind of our 1-year anniversary. And I'm sorry, I'm going into hyperspace.
Yeah.
Getting my bearing here.
If for those that are listening to the podcast, you're missing out, because we have an ongoing joke with Kim about what random different background she's going to have. And today we have the Millennium Falcon, which I'm sure Sean is going to be very upset that he missed out on.
Well, he shouldn't go on vacation then.
I know, right? And like, listen, normally, and I was going to say that, but then when he told me he was going with Nana, I'm like, oh, I can't. I have been scolded by Nana. I have received a couple of reprimands, so I cannot say anything. If Nana's involved, she gets what she wants. She can have the big guy for the weekend. That's fine.
As it should be.
Exactly.
So back to, let's see. When I was on the show, it was around June. So right then, it had been a few months. We had done WrestleMania. I think that we started seeing AEW and some of the wrestling people, because they found enough states that would take the show. And you live in the great state of Florida, and you guys got all the shows.
We do not care.
You still get a lot of the shows.
Yeah.
And also because the sanctioning is very easy to get along with. I mean, the sanctioning body in Florida. So anyway, so we started, I mean, I think the UFC gets a lot of credit for it because the whole Fight Island thing, you realize that, okay, you can do this without an audience. And so we kept thinking of like, well, what can we do? So we got into motorsports a bit. Motorcycles, perfect for the pandemic. You're wearing gloves and
Yeah.
helmets, you know, and you're 6 feet apart, maybe. What else? I think boxing really took its cue from kind of what the UFC was doing, and they realized, okay, well, we can do that too, and really by the end of summer, it started feeling like, okay, we can make that somehow. We'll make this happen. It's either no audiences or we'll just get clever or do stuff in countries or cities that will allow us to do something in it.
So was the joining with Triller like really kind of, I mean, it sounds like it was like an added bonus because with the amount of work that came in, it almost sounds like you got a little bit more of a group to support you.
Well, yes and no. I mean, Triller is a social media app, right? And when they had first launched, it was kind of to be a direct competitor to TikTok. So it was a younger crowd and more female crowd, because that's who's doing, music.
Yeah.
And then it turned into, okay, there's other stuff. And then it's just pop culture and it's dance. And they started acquiring a lot of companies. So they bought a couple tech companies, and then they bought Versus. And I don't know if you're familiar with them, but that's just like the hottest hip hop in group of concerts. It's like rap battles.
I think the last one you did was like, it was like with Shaka Khan was like the last one.
Yeah, that was the last one, and Stephanie Mills. So so it's a lot of there's great admiration in the hip hop and R&B and soul community in general. I mean, they really they think their legends are legends, they treat them with such respect. It's not like, oh, well, you're over 30, so bye-bye.
Yeah.
They really revere people who kind of broke a lot of ground, and the nostalgia aspect of it too. So anyway, they are really a great group to work with. So they had kind of the music set and the pop culture set. And then with the success of the Tyson fight, they said, all right, we're going to do a whole division that's like Fight Club. But really, it was just like working with another promoter. They didn't really have any way to distribute it in any meaningful way, because people don't want to necessarily just watch it on their phone or the computer. They like watching big shows on their Roku or their Amazon or their smart TV. Mm-hmm. So we have that. So it was a really good marriage of people bringing their various parts, and they kind of fit together. So it's been great because there's so much stuff, but it's definitely growing fast, and it's a different culture. Let's put it that way.
We're from the rock and roll girl.
Money, and like we know what we're doing. We track everything. I know you warned people, don't worry, Kim's not following every single thing you're doing on the internet. And I'm not, because I don't have the time to do so.
She's following everything 100%. What's been the biggest challenge for you though with everything? I mean, obviously, when you started doing the stuff with FITE TV and we were talking, and then I can constantly see everything grow all the way back from even doing the stuff with Gordon Ryan when you had the event with Gordon, and then growing to the motorsports and everything else. What's been the biggest challenge for you?
I think anytime you're growing a new vertical, it's a challenge. And frankly, grappling's been a little bit of a challenge. We have a deal with Third Coast Grappling, and I know that you kind of helped, pave the way there. I was saying good things about us. And we have, really nice events with them. We had a really good one, their 8th one, with Jake Shields and Pat Downey and all sorts of Renato and a lot of people. And Nate Diaz showed up and was in Jake's corner, which was great. So, and we've been doing other grappling, different smaller leagues they're coming in, and we have another one coming up next month that's going to be out in South Florida, actually, and it's a mixture of like music and grappling, kind of a Triller kind of thing. But, and we had another one like that a few months ago that it was in Hollywood, and it was a mixture. It was models, and it was sword swallowers and music and grappling. It was like they were just putting everything into it. But it's that's been challenging. Frankly, I'm just being completely honest. That's been a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be, because we figure it's fighting. Come on. But, I think that there are a few other entities out there who shall remain unnamed that have, a big corner of that market. And there's actually a couple entities out there, two rather big ones. So but we're not giving up on it. We think that is an area of growth, and it's an area of interest. So we're gonna keep going, and we keep getting a lot of unusual things. Like we did this cryptocurrency fight from Abu Dhabi, and it was a bunch of like Bitcoin guys who are fighting that, and then regular fighters too. And then we have something coming up next month, and it's DKU, who's kind of like the new Bruce Lee. He has a huge following online, and it should be really interesting. It's going to be from South Korea.
Because, I have to check that out. I don't.
South Korea now with Squid Games.
DK. Oh yeah, the South Korea. Everything has been blown up. I can see the shift. It's funny. Everything from K-pop to Squid Games and everything else that's coming out there. I see now that there's I forget what it was. There's something else that's coming out of South Korea. I mean, listen, I love South Korea. When I went there, I had a blast. Everybody's so nice. It's just a different world from the beginning. I did see another one too that I had zero clue that it even happened, but it happened right down the street for me. And it was the pillow fighting championships. How come I wasn't made aware of this? I do not know. But I will sign up to throw pillows at somebody. No problem.
We can connect you. It's funny how that came about. I used to work for a company called the Tube Music Network, and it was based in Miami, although I was out in LA at the time. It was run by Les Garland, who was one of the founders of MTV and VH1. And this was it was a 24-hour music channel using the digital spectrum. If you remember, broadcast was analog for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then in the, let's see, when was this? 2006, something like that. They switched everything over to digital, and that gave you, with all this extra bandwidth, you could do channel 5.2, channel 5.3. And you saw all these diginets pop up. So we had the Tube Music Network run by Garland, who was an amazing individual, and a bunch of people who used to either work with him or were in the business. And Gary Jaffe, who lives in South Florida, runs a big production company, has for a long time. He was the production guy, and I was head of like affiliate sales. So I was, they were not sales necessarily, but I had to deal with all of the TV stations and get them launched, everyone from the GM down to the salesperson. So we had like 90 affiliates. And anyway, it was great. We really kind of built this wonderful thing, but it just, the investment wasn't there. It just didn't happen. Everyone kind of moved off to other stuff. Anyway, Gary reaches out to me via LinkedIn a few months ago and says, Kim, got this thing called Pillow Fighting Championship. You should put it on Fight. And I'm going, oh my God, how do I let him down?
How do I say no?
Like, come on. I said, well, can you send me some stuff? And he did. And they had an article in the New York Post. And I saw that like they were getting all this attention on TikTok and Snap. And they were doing some stuff with Barstool Sports. And it was all like just kind of, they're just testing it up. They do pop-ups and do it in different places. And since they were in South Florida, great location, right? Because there's a gazillion fighters and MMA people. And so there's a lot of MMA guys. And then they even got the Marines. They were going to have a Marines versus Army. And you know what? The Marines showed up. The Army didn't. Yeah. So when you're in a pinch, You go with the few, the strong, whatever their tagline is.
You do not want to mess with a Marine with a pillow, evidently.
No. But when we got to meet everyone that's involved, we were really impressed because it's run by a bunch of people that have businesses that make money, and they just saw this as an interesting opportunity. And it's made out of very specific material. There's a patent on it. It makes a certain sound when you hit people, and they have all these licensing. I mean, they're so smart. They're just they have plans to go out to colleges and all sorts of. It's a great way to work out because it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And you can. It's great for the cardio and just trying different strategies or whatever, but you're not going to break a bone. You're not going to get injured.
Can you imagine if that's the next fitness craze? Forget Peloton. It's pillow fighting. Here you go. I mean, especially if this is post-pandemic, or we're stuck in the house again, here you go. We'll start selling these pillows. Let the kids have at it. Go for it.
Well, so anyway, we chatted with the guy at Reuters, and he fought to do the story because candidly, they weren't really into the story. They said, this is a little ridiculous, but they finally put out their story last Friday night and it went everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it was on CNN Sports. It was on all these big places all around the world in the MENA region and Singapore and India and the Daily Mail in the UK. I mean, it was literally everywhere. So
what did you say anything to the guy from Reuters that kept on saying no to writing the story?
Well, no, I must say the writer, and I'll say his name, 𝗶𝗧𝘂𝘁𝗶𝗳𝘆, because he's awesome and he's done stuff with us on other things too. He was the one that fought for it.
Right.
Some of the people in the upper echelons who were just going, I don't know.
See, you gotta trust the people that you hire to work for you.
Yep.
You got to go for it.
Great, little taglines about how it's out of the bedroom and into the ring, and just stuff to kind of little tongue-in-cheeky stuff that people like to laugh, and I think because that's even why one of the reasons why Squid Game was popular, because it was this horrific Hunger Games type of scenario. I won't give any spoiler.
Too late. If you didn't watch it by now, it's your problem.
By now, come on. But it was kid games, right? It was things that people maybe played when they grew up, marbles and red light, green light, and that's kind of what pillow fighting is. It's something that you grew up. Everyone knows what it is, and it's just silly enough to be really interesting. Anyway, the first event won't be till the end of January, so you're going to have to wait.
No, I saw that. I think January 29th or something like that. Yeah. Yeah,
it's right in between a bunch of the football playoff games and the Super Bowl. It's wedged right in there.
Perfect. It's a perfect spot. That lull between the final games, it's a perfect spot. Like I said, I had no clue about it, and it was right down the street. So, well, I guess I know where I got to go watch it now.
I'll introduce you to them because you might want to get involved because, they're kind of setting it up to do some fun stuff. So
me versus Sean in a pillow fight contest. It's over. I got reach. He's bigger. Don't get me wrong. He's bigger, but he's got little T-Rex arms. So I got the reach on him for sure.
You're in the same weight class, or would it be a catch weight?
No, I think we're close to having the same weight class. I mean, I got a little bit heftier. I got, I think he's up in, I should give a really high number just to piss him off. I think he's up to 275. So I'm at 230. So he's still got some weight on him. But that's what I'm saying. He's slower. He's going to be slower. I'll be able to see that pillow coming from a mile away. It'll be just very Matrix-like. And just watch him go swinging by.
That's such a guy perspective. If you were a girl and you're telling weights and stuff like that, Well, I mean, for me, I don't care. I'm a fighter.
See, that's what I'm saying.
It's not a big deal. Okay, if you're a female fighter, but any other female, don't you go talking about their weight.
No, that's a lesson. That's a lesson you learned a long time ago. You never bring that up. Even with the girls, actually, in jiu-jitsu, I never say oh, what are you competing at? No. Just I let that part of the conversation. The guys are how much you weigh now? What are you going to compete at? Okay, so what do you that part will go. But when it comes to the girls, nope, keeping my mouth shut. That's not my problem. That's not my business.
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
let.
I think, that's changing over time because people are like just much more accepting, and they don't see it as like, if anything, women like to kind of have a little extra. So,
Well, I mean, I think now more and more with the attention that the female fighters are getting, and what happened a couple of weeks ago with like Aspen Ladd, I think people are starting to see more and more that the details of what it takes to cut weight. They're not going with just the mental image of someone running around with a garbage bag on for a couple of miles. Like, they're seeing it more and more. And yeah, I mean, it's been around forever, but the more exposure this gets, I think the bigger of a deal it becomes, to where the weight is an issue. So, I mean, does the pillow thing have weight classes?
Yes, they do. And that's why I asked if you guys would be in the same.
Listen,
it's not a lot, but I think there's at least 4.
Yeah, I think either way, we would probably be super heavyweights, ultra heavyweight for Sean. For sure. We'll make it happen. I'll have a conversation with the big guy. If not, I'm just going to go up and beat him up with a pillow anyway. So, speaking of different sports, what I really wanted to talk to you about, and it's the event coming up this week, which I'll be there. Thank you so much for allowing me to come in and seeing this. Triad Combat and 𝗀𝗄𝘂𝘁𝗄𝗃. So hold on, bring this up. Like, explain this to me. 𝗀𝗄𝘂𝘁𝗄𝗃 is the director of
regulatory affairs,
which is funny coming from one of the best announcers of all time, but he also does practice martial arts. He's done so much work. So it's fun to see him having the eye on the detail on this. So for those of you that don't know yet, Triad Combat is this week. It's in Arlington, Texas. And you guys changed things up a little bit. It's a triangle fight space. I hate saying triangle ring. I mean, but it is what it is. It's awkward.
Oxymoron, but
right. It's triangular fight ring. It's a boxing match, but it's going to be boxing versus MMA, but it's strictly boxing. You're adding the overhook, underhook, half tie clinch. Superman punches are allowed.
Yep.
You have
bolo punch,
the bolo punch, a hammer, like tomahawk hammers, I guess.
spinning back fist.
Yeah, it was so.
You can step on the feet too. You can't stomp, but you can step.
That's one of
clinch, but like one hand.
Right. So like the half tie clinch, but the foot press is one of the things that's actually I find very funny, because in boxing, it's a little bit of a dirty trick.
Yeah.
No one ever really talks about it in MMA, but in boxing, for people that don't really follow boxing or Jiu-Jitsu radio, whenever you have guys facing off, especially it happens if it's a southpaw against orthodox, they'll step on each other's foot because it keeps someone from backing out. So you can keep on punching them. They're not going to go anywhere. That's allowed. I mean, that's as close as you're going to get to having grappling into a boxing match, really. So my question is, how did this all develop into this event?
I don't know the exact genesis of it, but I know that Ryan and 𝗦𝗽ecie of American Idol and So You Think You Can Dance fame, et cetera, he's been our creative visionary guy. So he's been helping us with some of these Trillerverse fights that we do with versus and just great boxing. And there's another one coming up December 2nd. So they've been kind of talking about it off and on for some time of wanting to do something that would confine the space a bit. And yeah, so they decided to go in this route, and they brought it up to a bunch of us, and everyone kind of went around with names and played the name game, like, what are you going to call it? And kind of landed on this one, and then had to, it was kind of like the whole karate combat thing. It reminded me of that, which is the irony that, 𝗀𝗄𝘂𝘁𝗄𝗃 was involved with that too. But but yeah, it's just a bunch of different elements that have been out there in some ways, but putting it in a new combination, kind of what Triller Fight Club did to the boxing game. It's boxing, but now there's music, and maybe you can have commentators that smoke a joint while they're doing the play-by-play. I don't know. They're just trying to like do something different. Why not have Pete Davidson open up your show?
I mean, I love it. I love the idea. Do you know the size of the actual ring?
If I knew there was going to be a test, I would have.
I'm just curious. I mean, I guess I've been looking at it, and I'm really, really interested in all the changes. Like the other thing that they did the research on was having the curved gloves. So it's still an open-handed glove, like an MMA glove. But the fingers and everything are covered and curved down. So that's something which I think this actually gives a benefit to the MMA fighter, because a lot of the guys already wear those to train with.
Yes.
So that's a benefit. Boxers are never going to wear that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole point of this sport, was to quote unquote level the playing field somewhat. Some people would argue, well, you can't take anyone down. There's no knees or elbows. I think it's a sport that will evolve over time, and you might see some other additions in the future. But for now, they felt that there was enough parity on either side. Maybe it favors boxing a little bit, maybe, but to your point, maybe MMA people, because they are so well versed in different styles, that maybe they can deal with the fact that there's some different elements that the boxer's not going to be familiar with. It's going to be good. I think it's a really interesting lineup. We have Frank Mir on the MMA side. We've got brain don't fail me now. We've got Mike Perry, Platinum Mike. We also have Tumanov, who's a real good Russian fighter, and
you have Pulev.
That's on the boxing side. So we've got 𝗶𝗧𝘂𝘆, who's from Bulgaria, which and FITE is based in Sofia, Bulgaria. So there's going to be a whole big push.
Oh yeah, he better come home with the win. I mean, his last fight was with Anthony Joshua. And he lost that one. And then you got Matt Mitrione.
Yeah, Matt. Well, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt Mitrione. And so it's going to be a really interesting night of fights. But because Triller likes to just put more cherries on top, we got a little band named Metallica who's going to be showing up, and they are very into this. They're very involved. They're going to open up the show with a couple songs. Then you're going to see a bunch of fights, and then they're going to come back and they're going to do a few more songs right before the main event. And then when the main event is over, they're coming back, and in their words, are going to do 75 minutes going hard.
Wow, that's nuts.
It's a long night of, a lot of fighting and hopefully a lot of knockouts, and a great band.
That's absolutely crazy. So they're going to do an intro, a little intermission, like performance, and then a full 75-minute show after.
Yep.
Who came up with, who made that decision? Was that more on their side, or was that you no, we want them on there as long as possible?
I think it kind of came out through a lot of conversations that the band had with Ryan. I mean, they were very collaborative in what they kind of wanted to do. And I don't think they'd been playing anywhere in the Dallas area recently. And they figured, we got to give our fans a show. It can't just be a special appearance of just a few songs. Now, coming clean on this, on traditional cable and satellite, they'll get the Metallica that you see in the beginning and then right before the main event, but then their pay-per-view event ends at the end of the main fight. It's only streaming on FITE where you get with the same price, you get the full concert afterwards too.
So wait, if someone wants to watch the whole pay-per-view fight and the show, it's all just one price, or they're going to have to pay for
it's all one price, nice. And it would only be on FITE. So here's the other little thing. We've only started promoting it. So it's not out there in a big way. but we're really trying to push our Trillerverse subscription. It's just $2.99 a month, and you get your monthly boxing and versus shows on there. But we are also throwing this on there.
Uh-oh.
So you can get this whole show and concert if you get it on FITE for $2.99. I mean, it's a subscription, so it's $2.99 every month.
Yeah.
But or you can buy a whole year for $29.99 or whatever, then that's free.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, that's still cheaper than if you were trying to watch like the UFC fights on ESPN or anything like that. Like that's how much you pay for, like you pay 10, 15 monthly. Like screw that. Even if you're going to spend more on drinks, at least you get to watch fights. No, wait, well, what's the subscription include?
It includes anything that we offer under Trillerverse, which is every month we have a great boxing event and a versus show. There's usually several versus shows. This month, we're also including Triad Combat. And you can go back and watch these things later too, because it's kind of like it's in your little package of content. So anyway, for $2.99 subscription,
that's nothing. That's literally
it's less than
nothing.
A Starbucks, folks.
Yeah, it's literally a nothing. I mean, I'm a huge Metallica fan anyway, and I'm a fight fan. So at the end of the day, it's even if you pay for the year, that's still going to be cheaper than what most people are going to pay for drinks that night. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't see why not. And I mean, let's be honest, you're going to spend a lot of money on gifts on Black Friday. So the money that you save on Black Friday, you might as well just buy the thing. So what's the plan for Triad Combat then? Like, is this going to be a monthly thing or what?
I don't know if it's going to be monthly. It may turn out to be maybe quarterly or something. That hasn't been decided yet, but probably not monthly because we're doing the Trillerverse boxing every month anyway. And we have a bunch of really exciting things we hope to launch next year. We're just going to be offering more and more things, and of course, pillow fighting, but that's just on FITE.
So you guys have like so many crazy, just awesome, different fight options, right? Like you have the Triad. I mean, the pillows, like what's the craziest thing that someone's come up and pitched to you guys? You're like, no, we're not going to touch that. Like that they really made the push. Like this is going to be the next thing. You guys are going to love it.
Yeah, we do occasionally get something that's really out there, and we've aired some of them. Like, remember you were saying you have jousting.
Yeah, the jousting was great. Yeah, I want more jousting.
But someone once came to us saying they have this thing called MMA football, and it was like, really? Okay, so like you tackle someone and then you can just like beat them up from there. I mean, I didn't know exactly how it worked. It was just kind of, you're
talking about like
to say, what do you think of this?
Like the MMA soccer football?
Well, I don't know. Is that such a thing?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. They do it. They do it in Italy. They have, I think they do it like once a year where they'll go out there and they play and they just like wail on each other.
Okay. Well, then it's kind of like that. Or you could just say, have you seen rugby? Have you seen Australian rules football? Yeah. It's like some of these things are kind of like MMA football. So yeah, before I saw all their business plans and all the stuff that they had with the pillow fighting, I might have put that in that category too. Other than that, we get a lot of stuff from like roller derby and, stuff that's been out there for a while, but they're trying to say, hey, could this be pay-per-view? It's like, well, and tag and like kind of,
Yeah. I mean, the tag is cool. I actually watched it on YouTube all the time, like the last couple of years. Like some of the events are actually pretty cool. And I mean, those guys are very athletic. I think it's just one of those things. It's tough when you're like, the good part is they are honest whether or not they got tagged or not. And that's the one thing I ever saw. Yeah. It's funny that you brought up the soccer one, the MMA football, because it's always, I don't know if you ever heard of this. So once a year, I forget the name of the city. It's somewhere in South America, but once a year, the entire town shows up to like the soccer stadium and literally beat the crap out of each other. And that's their Festivus, if you will. That's where they air their grievances. So that's their purge. So anybody that they have a problem with, you can go over there and just beat them up and that's it. And you're not going to get in trouble. And everybody's supposed to shake hands afterwards or something like that. After that's just every time I hear about that MMA, like soccer thing or the football, like that's 100% what I think of.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting. Yeah, it is like the purge. It could be very therapeutic.
Listen,
if you don't die.
If you can make it out without the brain damage. I mean, I know that hooligans got in trouble for doing this. They went to jail. So I don't understand how those people get to go scot-free with it. But I think more and more people are clamoring for just different types of fight challenges and things like that.
I think it will get wackier. I think you'll see people fighting animals or robots. The robots fighting robots, of course. It's, already.
Don't give everybody all your ideas. Come on. Like what? I'm curious. What would be if you could make up your own fight sports, like challenge, let's say, or your own fight card like this, what would you want to do?
I don't know, because I think everything is so crazy now with, celebrity fights and people who are non-fighters fighting each other. I mean, I guess, at some point there's going to be an intergender fight, and they do it now in pro wrestling and whatever. And, I can't say, or whatever. I made a note of this, like it should be a drinking game. If you go back to the last show I was on, the amount of times I said, or whatever, if you took a shot, and then mindful, it's like, that's not even a word that I use that much. And I must have said it like 5 times.
You won't hear anything from me. I have been working so hard to stop saying the word like. I am trying so hard, and it's just so, it's just one of those, it's very difficult. It's a filler word. It's a filler word where you're just trying to fill something, a gap in space to continue instead of just pausing and saying what you want to say. So you won't hear anything from me. So you help me, I'll help you.
Okay. Fair enough. I think that, they already have a lingerie football league and stuff like that. I could see people doing like nude fighting. And maybe
oh my gosh, that would be so dangerous. That's like Vale Tudo, but extra. And you know what's funny is that
that could be. Again, that's not my idea.
Copyright it. You never know.
You're just like, well, how far can people go? They have eating contests, and they have,
Well, the intergender one. There was the video that came out a couple of months ago where the woman was fighting that 300, 400 pound guy in Russia. Yeah. And I was reading an article the other day. She did an interview where she knew exactly what she was doing, and she planned it out because she wanted to do something that got her that much attention. Then she could move forward with her MMA career. And I think Bellator like threw her a contract or something. So especially it's Russia. Everything crazy is coming out of Russia. I'm surprised did you guys actually do the Office MMA, like 3-on-3, 4-on-4 fights? Have you seen those?
No, but we did do some of the Mahatch, which is with the sandbags and the fighting there. We've done a lot of the stuff from Poland with the slap fighting. We've had them a couple of times. So we occasionally will do stuff that comes from other parts of the world. You could say that 𝗏𝗚𝘂 was pretty, we never carried that UFC Fight Pass, but you can do headbutts and stuff there. Yeah. I thought, wow, that's brutal.
I forget the guy's name. I think he calls himself the King of 𝗏𝗚𝘂. He was starting a bunch of stuff online, trying to get it out there some more. But the slap fighting thing, what's the response you get from that when you guys had that on?
People like it. Here's the only challenge with stuff that's kind of like that, and something that's become popular by being free for a long time. It's hard to transition that into, but now you got to pay for it. Unless it's either someone really famous or there's, other reasons to buy. So, they do respectable business, and we do see it growing. And so I think it's really just a matter of time There's a new owner for slap fighting, and he's really got his act together. He has a deep background in MMA, so he really knows, the whole game and how to do things well and properly. And I think that just like the slap fighting and just like the sandbag fights and stuff like that, yeah, you see things on YouTube that have like 10 million views, and you would think, all right, well, if you put some of that on pay-per-view, but people, they already in their head say, I can see this for free.
Yeah.
So they're not quite as apt to, the numbers don't turn out like you think they're going to do.
Yeah.
But you can build, and you just kind of take it from there. And as the competition gets better, I mean, I always tell people that people buy fights for fighters. That's why they're buying it. That's why a Conor McGregor or, whoever the hot guy is at any given time, it sells a lot of tickets because they don't even have to be the best fighter. Look at the Diaz brothers, whether they win or lose, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Like, you want to see them fight. And so I think whatever sport it is, you want to see certain personalities.
Yeah. I'm curious from, obviously we're straying away more talking about specifically other fighting, but getting into the marketing aspect of it. What does it take to build that? I mean, if you get something so out of the norm, and you've done this repeatedly, what's your strategy on building something like that?
You have to build stars. And I think that's kind of how, BKFC has done it. They keep hiring more people that have a track record and a social following. They go after, the Paige Van Zants and people who just have a huge following that are popular. People want to see them, whether they win or not. It almost doesn't matter. I think it's the cult of personality. I mean, you want to. Great song, by the way.
Yeah.
I love that song. Living Color. So it's awareness, because there's a lot of noise out there. There's more and more fighting leagues that are being started in every genre, whether it's grappling, whether it's pillow fighting, whether it's boxing. I mean, boxing has had a huge growth, and Jake Paul and his brother Logan are a big part of it. We're actually carrying the Jake Paul fight too. We don't have domestic rights, unfortunately, this time, but we have a lot of big countries that we're going to carry, and we're the only provider that's carried every single one of his pay-per-view fights. So we're happy to do that. And I think that, marketing is going to be, I think you need some lead time, and you need an angle that like captures someone's attention, and personalities with followings.
Yeah. So I have two questions. You brought up the second one into my head just now, so I'll go with that one. One of the biggest discussions that everybody always has, especially when you get like Dana White or whoever on post-fight, is always talking about the pay-per-view numbers. They're like, oh, the pay-per-view numbers are through the roof. And I forget what the event was where he's saying, oh, those numbers are BS. That's not true. There's no way they got those numbers. Mm-hmm. Can you explain to everyone what exactly it means when they say we had X many buys or this many viewers or this, like when you get the actual pay-per-view numbers? So, I mean, it's a whole big conversation to have, really. When you see, okay, are the numbers that Dana White giving out really the numbers that are really coming out there? I'm not saying that you're going to call out Dana White or anything by any means. That's not the case. But I think the confusion comes down to, who do they believe? People spice up numbers. It happens, especially when you're a promoter. You're going to spice up the numbers. But what do you get as the CMO when you have to analyze the response afterwards?
Well, truthfully, that's when you'll find out the final number, and maybe not immediately afterwards, because with digital, yeah, you will definitely get a number, and depending on what the sport is, you might get 10% more if you offer replays and stuff like that. Maybe more if it's pro wrestling, because they tend to buy things, even if it's not live and post event, a lot more than MMA or boxing. But if you are using traditional cable and satellite, that goes through their set-top boxes, and it's, you know, there's like little MSOs in all these different cities, and you have to pull from every single one. It's not like one central computer where everyone, you know, comes in. You know, you're manually waiting for things to come back, and so it can be a month or two before you really know what that number is. But you can do guesstimations. If you do it enough times, you kind of go, well, all right, by this time, if we have this much, I can expect to get 20% more in a month or whatever. You can do those projections. When you hear Dana White or Tony Khan, who runs AEW, or, you know, Bob Arum, who runs Top Rank, talking about total numbers, that it's usually not super exact. It's big round numbers, like, yeah, we did 800,000 buys, you know.
It's always rounding up, always rounding up.
It's like, yeah, within red margin of error of like 100,000 on either way, maybe, because no one's going to press them to it, because most people keep that information close to the vest. They don't want to give that away that much, unless it was just phenomenal. And like we have, you know, we kind of talked about the Tyson numbers because they were just so phenomenal. But it wasn't right away. I think they wanted to wait, and some of the cable and satellite stuff came through because we realized that, like, oh, we're a top 10. That's you know, that's in there. And so it settled out at number 8 all time. But a lot of times people don't want to talk about the numbers, whether they're good or bad, or did better than you thought or worse than you thought, just because then it sets up this expectation. You have this bar you have to keep hitting. Now, UFC has been around for what, 28 years now, so they don't really they're not going to win or die by a flop event or something.
Yeah.
Well, but a younger company that could, you know, be really hobble their chances if things felt disappointing or something like that. So I think that most people like to keep that close to the vest. And it's funny how, especially in pro wrestling, AEW talks about a lot of their numbers, I think, again, because they're doing really super well. But there are people, pundits, there's a guy named Dave Meltzer who always seems to have the scuttlebutt on like what WWE did. And like, how does he get these numbers? It's like, yeah. And sometimes they seem pretty spot on. And other times like, no way, like he's fudging it now.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. I think people don't understand the exact aspect of, yes, you do get a report saying we had this many pay-per-view buys, but you're not going to get the most accurate one the night of the fight. No. It's one of those things that comes out after. So when you guys get someone to come up to you and say, hey, this is how many people I think I can get off of my event from using your platform, is that something that really comes as a selling point for you, or is it really the looking at the potential of what they could be?
No, I freaking hate that question because it's there, especially for a brand new event. It's kind of like saying, how famous do you think I'm going to get on this show? It's a brand new show. It's like, I don't know. I mean, it kind of depends what you put into it. We can guesstimate, having done 5,000 events, like where you might land if you put in X amount of dollars, and like if you have 4 weeks to promote it, and we're committing, we're going to do X amount of emails and app pushes, and we're going to do a Roku buy, and we're going to do blah blah blah. We kind of know, and I spoke a little about this last time, a tiny bit, but we have an AI predictor that has been, because of the 5,000 events, like it's pretty accurate. So we will know once it goes on sale after about a week or so. We get a finger in the wind And we kind of either like, oh, and we better like bolster this. We need to put out some more press releases or whatever, or we need to maybe do a bigger ad buy on Google or whatever the tactic might be.
Don't put any Florida events on that predictor. It'll blow up. Florida is the worst. Anytime I do an event here, I always have to have that conversation with the promoter, whoever, saying, listen, I know you've done the show in other places. It's not the way Florida works. You're not going to sell, 500 tickets the first day. It's going to be 10% of your ticket sales are going to be at the very beginning. And then 2 weeks out, it's going to be another 40. And then the remainder are going to be walk-ups. I promise you it'll be walk-ups. Nobody can handle that. Nobody can handle that stress, which rightfully so. It's understandable. You're like, oh, my event is going to bomb. It's going to crash. No, just listen to me. We did everything right. Just go. If you go do it in Texas, you go do it in Colorado, California, go for it. Go to New York for sure. You can end up selling it out. No problem. Not in Florida. It's just not the way people operate here.
Yeah, that's interesting how there's just different ways that people behave in different areas. So, yeah, that's got to be tough to kind of go, well, am I going to lose my shirt or am I going to be like really ecstatic about the results?
I always think it's funny though, because I always tell people like most of the time tours either start or end in Florida, and for different reasons, just because the amount of time it takes to come down here, the expenses, and then it's peninsula. So you got to come down and drive all the way back out. So you're not really hitting anything new. There's not an efficient route. But then the joke also comes down to, well, if you do it at the beginning, you know how good you got to do it the rest of the shows to make up for that tank. Or if you do it at the end, or you're going to know you're going to do everything else right. And then whatever happens in Florida happens in Florida. It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why, that's why I'm just curious on the promotion aspect of everything. I mean, you guys have grown so much. I mean, obviously your expertise on putting all the events together and just kind of having it's cool to me for me to see the open-mindedness of your platform to kind of just add more. I mean, the wrestling is great. I think the wrestling is a big part of everything, but adding all these new events is kind of crazy. Nobody else is really doing that.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no other pay-per-view company that does so many different things, and we're probably going to expand out into even more sports. And we had a motorsports moto car event just last week, so we haven't given up on that world either. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting year next year. We're going to probably throw out even more items. And, we also play well in the sandbox and with other promoters. So we'll work with them in their markets. And even if they only give us, well, you only get some European or some, Asian markets, and because everyone wants the US because that's where all the pay-per-view money is. But, it's like, we're fine with that. It's like, okay, we'll, we like our international crowd.
Yeah, there was I forget what it was that we talked about last time. The one that was the surprising large numbers of pay-per-view buys that you guys get.
It was the KSI Logan Paul 2 fight.
Yes,
I had talked about.
Yeah,
which even at that point was like a year and a half old. Now it's old business now. But it's you get a Mayweather or a Paul brother on the card. You're doing really well. You're gonna sell tickets, and but we also did well with the Manny Pacquiao fight, which turns out it looks like it's going to be his last fight for the future president of the Philippines.
Man, do you get any perks for that now? Did you get to work with the future president of the Philippines?
Well, I mean, he hasn't won yet, but I think that he probably will. I know he's running.
Wow, boxing is not rigged at all. I didn't say that. That wasn't me. So do you get to work directly with him at all on events like that?
It depends. I didn't get to on this one because and ironically he was here in Vegas where I am now. But I forget what it was. Sometimes I do get to meet the fighters and hang out if I'm either going to the press conference or the actual event. I don't go to too many of these events though. Otherwise, I'd just be traveling and I'd never stop.
Yeah, there's no way you could do that. You physically could not do that.
But that's why I'm excited to go to the Triad one, because I've not seen a Triller fight up close. And I was supposed to go to the Oscar de la Hoya one out in LA, but of course he had COVID. So
you didn't miss out on anything.
Florida, but it was just, and that was like, that was a crazy event because literally 4 days before the Belfort Holyfield fight happened, and we only had a week to build that card and switch states and switch everything. We bring in none other than President Donald Trump for our alternative commentary. So now you have like, a former sitting president of the US who's like, that was just nutty. That like with all of just how fast everything happened.
I was like, what were the logistics for that even just to get him in there and to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have to, handle those details. Thank goodness. There's a very capable COO at Triller Fight Club named Torsten, who has a deep background doing major boxing events and stuff like that. And he really kind of runs like clockwork and along with the senior management team, who I guess knew Donald Trump, and he lives in South Florida. So, they did a deal, and it was like really working with any other famous person.
I mean, a little bit extra more famous on that one. A little bit extra. I wish you just to hear that initial conversation. Hey, Don, I got a fight this week. You want to come be a commentator?
But he did have a fight background, to be fair. He was a longtime friend of Holyfield and had, the Trump towers in New Jersey and had lots of events and stuff like that. He's a fight fan, and he's friends with Dana White too. He's a huge UFC fan and very supportive to the UFC events too.
I guess he's got the extra time now, right?
Right.
He's got a little bit of the extra time now.
Yeah.
So the bare knuckle fight, like the whole stuff that's going on with it now, what's the update on that?
You mean like BKFC?
Yeah.
The league?
Yeah. Because there was the issues that now they're saying that it wasn't a sanctioned fight.
But which one? Well, I'm sorry. Which one are you talking about?
The one, I think it was the one with Hector Lombard. Let me see if I can pull it up. I'm curious on the news on
so the most recent one in my
Yeah, they're saying that, or no, it was, let me pull it up because I forget the details on there. But I guess because of the issues of where they had to fight and who the governing body was for everything, that all of a sudden they're saying that, oh, well, everybody is not sanctioned anymore to fight or not allowed to fight for a while. Where is the freaking, it should be on MMA.
Was that the event with Dat Nguyen on the undercard too?
I wish I could tell you. I got so many different fights in my head that I can remember that it's all jumbled into one. Plus like the John Jones match coming up and all this other stuff. Yeah.
So what do you know about that? I saw an ad, or a story about it.
All I know is what's out there. I honestly think that he shouldn't be allowed to fight considering what happened and what he did.
Yeah.
That's me. I think that's just one of those things that I do not care to see John Jones compete when he's got so many issues. That dude needs to go to rehab and be locked in rehab for a good while. Like that's just something's wrong that you can't throw some random Bible verse on top of to try and cover like your ass on. You can't sit there and have the cops call to your Vegas room with your wife like and a bloody nose at the front desk and be like, there was just another day of Vegas. I'm going to go fight. Like you can't do that. Like, I don't care whether or not you want to be a role model for someone. There's eyes on you, you know? So for me, it's, will I watch it? Probably. Do I want to see him fight? No, but I mean, I love a good show. It is what it is. I just want someone that talented. I want to see them succeed.
Yeah. I mean, I really hope that, he gets whatever help he needs because, what an amazing fighter. And he could have a very, very bright future. And I think sometimes, people who are just so blessed with certain talents, so deep, they have other things maybe they have to deal with.
I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's when you get guys that are so talented, it doesn't matter if it's fighting or musicians or whatever, there's something there that gives them that spark, that little change of something different.
Yeah.
So you have to take it. You can't have something so extraordinary without the balance of something to bring it back down to earth. Like, I mean, you get Axl Rose, is amazing musician, like performer. That guy is batshit crazy. I mean, but that's why he loved Guns N' Roses. Like, that's just the way that it goes. So it's just one of those things. It's, I mean, look at what happened with Tyson. Tyson, you had to go through so much stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, even now he seems to be such a great human being, but I have a feeling it doesn't take much to get the beast to come back out and, start wrecking entire squads of people.
So would you personally take that trade-off if you could be someone who is so incredibly gifted in some particular area, but you're going to have like some mental things to deal with? Would you take that trade, or would you rather say, I'm fine the way I am and I'll make it by being a more balanced human? But
I think it depends on what it is. If you're telling me I'm going to be the world's best crochet artist, I'll take a hard pass on that. I always go with the mindset of, if you want to be great at something, you have to pay the toll. Like, it's just the way that it is. 𝗷𝗺𝘂𝘆𝘀 has one of the best quotes ever, that if good intentions is all it took to be great, then everybody would be great.
mm-hmm.
You got to put in the work. You have to have something. And anytime you get someone that has reached that level of obsession on something, you're going to miss out on social skills or norms or things like that. I mean, look at Elon Musk. Elon is a genius. He has a set goal. He wants people on Mars. Everything else to him is secondary. It doesn't matter. Would I would probably say, yeah. I mean, I'm a passionate person. So if there's something that I want, like 100%, I will put everything into it and I will sacrifice other stuff. And I've done it. I mean, I did it to get to the point where I was in the music industry, and I was nobody, but I sacrificed everything and I got to where I was. And then I decided, I was like, okay, well, I got to take a step back, because I was reaching another level where I was like, I don't want to burn those bridges to achieve that goal. But for sure, I mean, at the end of the day, you're only here once. So if you're passionate about it, if you're truthfully passionate about it, and the meaning of your existence is to express yourself in that manner, I mean, you have to. Otherwise, you're being disingenuous to yourself. And then at the end of the day, you got to live with yourself, nobody else.
Yeah. And I think if you're lucky enough to have a passion that so drives you to do the 10,000 hours and beyond, then it's almost a waste if you don't.
Yeah.
because that's a gift. I mean, not everybody has that kind of passion. Some people just want to go through their day-to-day life and I'm going to do my 9 to 5 and then I'm going to go over here and then I'm going to pay my taxes and I'm going to, go to the gym once a week or, whatever it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. That may be a less complicated life and it may be a happy one. But I think that, if you are blessed with some skills or insight or something that just drives you, it seems like that's a very human thing to kind of make the most out of it,
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing worse to me. There's nothing worse in this world than wasted talent.
Yeah.
There's wasted talent and there's ungrateful talent. When you're given something and you're ungrateful for it, that's worse than just being lazy about it because you don't appreciate what you have. And it happens. I mean, that's what happens with Jon Jones. He's ungrateful for the talent that he has. And that's his own ego. That's the thing. There's a difference with, Conor McGregor is just crazy. He's doing it up. He's not an amazing fighter, but he's a showman. Go for it. I'm all for it. I love it. He's probably going to cross the line too many times, but Jon Jones is Jon Jones. Imagine if you had Bruce Lee be so amazing, but he didn't use his talent. He died at what? 33. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to me. And there's so many stories of people that I pay attention to that I look at, and it's, for me, I don't need to look at quotes for inspiration. I don't need to look at, some painting or something for inspiration on wanting to have something or wanting to do something or reach a goal. I want it. It's a weird feeling that some people will never experience of, man, like being up 3 days in a row, working, going on tour, like doing this, that, and the other, because I want to be there. This is what I want my life to. Like people ask you, like, oh, how could you do that? Be up for like 3 days in a row, 2 days in a row. It's like, there's no option there. You don't get to choose that. It's, you want it or you don't.
Right.
So it's like wasted talent is wasted talent. It's like, if he doesn't want to sit there and use it, go for it. Like, what's he going to get out of this grappling match? He's the bigger, stronger guy. If he loses, he loses, it's different. If you tell me Gordon Ryan versus Jon Jones.
Yeah.
Then I'm in. I'm all in. Let's go.
Yeah, I'll say that one too. So bringing it back to jiu-jitsu, do you think that there's a certain zen or thing that jiu-jitsu like fuels you? Is there a reason why you've gravitated towards that sport? I mean, you are Jiu-Jitsu Radio. So
yeah. So it's funny because I started off with capoeira. And I was really, really into capoeira. There's a different energy and a different approach to it. I think especially with jiu-jitsu, it hits so many people. Like I always tell people that you reach a point when you first start, the bug bites you, where you get a different understanding of the world around you. And it comes down to your upbringing. Like I was bullied a lot. I was bullied by my teachers, classmates, everything. So there's a sense of vulnerability of where, you never know what's going to happen next. And you don't have the confidence in yourself to think if something happens, I can handle myself. So once you start training and for me, especially, there became a point in time where I've always been an athlete and played sports. I've always been pretty good at sports, but with jiu-jitsu, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're an elite level athlete that you've always been good at sports, or you're someone that just grinds away at getting better, and better. You're on a level playing field now. So there's always a chance. But for me, it was the ability to all of a sudden be confident that whether someone's bigger than me or more talented than me or stronger, then I'm at peace with who I am. And I know that I can handle myself one way or another. And it's funny, but you really bring it down to the point of you've been killed countless number of times. And when you look at it, that every time you tap, someone's choking you unconscious. If they wanted to, they could have killed you. So when you're basically facing death that often, it's one of those things where nothing else really bothers you as much. The little things don't get to you as much. Like, well, at least I'm not getting choked out. At least someone's not breaking my arm. So that's part of it. And then it's one of those things that I started dedicating everything that I do to it so much more. And the same with music, that I've gotten to experience so many things because I dedicated myself to martial arts. Even the fact that you and I met and became friends came down from my passion for jiu-jitsu, starting to take photos of it, and then starting to take photos of fight sports and martial arts, to seeing, hey, Karate Combat's coming out in Miami. I want to be there for it. I want to experience people fighting for it. And it all became from the fact that I dedicated so much time to immerse myself in everything that involves jiu-jitsu, not just the art in itself.
Right.
So it's what am I going to do? Am I going to dedicate my life to sitting there working 9 to 5, like, making photocopies? Like, no, why would I do that?
Right.
But what about you? I mean, it's the same for you. You're the lifelong martial artist, the black belt.
Yeah. And I think it was similar, and it's funny. Well, not funny, haha, but
Funny
curious that you mentioned that you were bullied growing up. And I think I hear that all the time. I mean, that's GSP's story.
Yeah.
And the guy who's the master sensei who conferred to me, my black belt, and he's an 8th degree master. He was, a contemporary of Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, and the guy's just a living legend. And he too was bullied as a kid. He was from Hungary, and then they escaped and went, because he was Jewish also, and he went to I think Toronto, and so grew up in Canada. And because of his size, because he didn't get taller or whatever till later in life, and he just decided, I'm just going to fight back, literally, and change my life. And then he just got into it and just never stopped. But it is a common refrain that you hear, that someone was bullied, and I wasn't bullied, but there was something that happened to me when I was younger in college, and I said, that will never happen again. And that was one of the things that motivated me, not only to encourage my kids to get into it as well, but me personally. And, I'm 5'3", and I'm not that tall or big or scary, but I'm a really fierce fighter. And, I had whenever I would spar in the groups, it tended to be with a bunch of guys. My daughter was in there too, but so she was even smaller, but guys who were like ages 16 to 28, and we'd be fighting them all the time. And like, they didn't always want to fight me, because they knew I was crazy.
Well, I mean, when you get to the point where you get that close to the line of death, if whatever way you want to look at it, like, and you realize all that you have to lose, everything else, like, you never want to get up to that. And you're willing, this is how far I'm willing to go to never lose that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's completely understandable, at least from my point of view. I think like the bullying thing, it's bad to say it, but I say it, where it's like, I think bullying to an extent is a necessary evil of this world.
Yeah.
Because like, what's the phrase, that hard times make hard men, like easy times make for like soft men kind of thing. It's like the same for women.
Yeah.
It's,
I agree. There's some, I think, in some of the culture that we have right now is so like, oh, don't offend and don't do this and don't do that. It's like, well, no, I think in a way you want to face some adversity here and there because it sharpens the tool, you know, and it makes you stronger. Hopefully it motivates you too. You got to fight back and stand up for yourself. And maybe you can stand up for someone else who hasn't learned how to do that. You know, you can stand up for your friends as well. And I think martial arts, especially, very empowering for women. It really just makes them feel so much more confident, but it's just as good for, I think, boys, because I think boys tend to be more naturally aggressive anyway, and they need that outlet.
Yeah.
You want to roughhouse, you want to do this with your kids. And I remember hearing Jordan Peterson talking about it. Wow, this show is getting so philosophical. but I mean, I love his the way he talks about it, how, you know, fathers should roughhouse with their kids and stuff like that, boys or girls. It's like, it's almost like how you see puppies play with each other and they're swatting each other. I mean, you're not doing it to hurt them, but you want them to, like, you know, be
toughen up.
A wuss. Right?
Yeah. It's funny. I still remember the last time my dad and I like roughhoused, like, because we used to play fight all the time. And he would like jump me, like bear hug me, like sit there and just mess with me and stuff all the time. And then one day we were messing around, like play fighting in the kitchen, and I grabbed him and I picked him up, and I was 13, 14. And he goes, well, that's the last time we're doing that. I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. He was just and my dad was a muscular guy. He played rugby. He works with his hands all day. He's a man's man. And I just went, whoop, and I picked him up. He's like, oh, that's the last time we're doing that.
Here's the good news and the bad news.
Yeah. She's like, that's the last time we're doing that. So I agree with you that I think that girls should be taking up martial arts. And I always make the push for any female friend to start martial arts. I think that obviously you get kind of like the like you said, the difference in the sexes, as far as guys are made to roughhouse, girls don't do that. But I feel that it would probably mean more coming from another woman to a woman saying, hey, you should go and try this. But what do you think as a piece of advice? Like, what could someone sit there and share to another woman to sit there and say, like, you should take up martial arts? Like, what is it that you think flips the switch for a lot of women to go, okay, I'll try it now?
I think because women do, you know, women can be vicious too. In fact, they're probably more vicious than men. Like they would do like more underhanded tactics to win, maybe because they feel like they have to. Yeah. Like you learn the places that you need to, if a guy was, you know, trying to attack you.
Yeah.
3 or 4 places I can tell you right now, and they're not allowed in the UFC. Yeah. But I think that there's a sense of empowerment that it gives you. As a female, to realize that, and I think that's why grappling is of interest too, because you can kind of mitigate the size difference if you're going to take someone to the ground, and you can work with their power, use it against them. And I mean, judo does that really well. And we tried to learn, even though it was karate specifically that we learned, the instructor also did a lot with Krav Maga and in judo and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu as well. So I think a lot of it is also because women get stressed, just like guys get stressed. It's a good stress reliever, you know, to like kick I have a kick bag right here in my office. And you know, it just to like work it out, and it just makes you feel good. I've seen it in my daughter. It just makes her, it's great for health benefits, and it makes your body look strong and cool. And that's always nice. You know, who wants to have to worry about their, you know, their weight or like dieting or whatever? Just work out. Like, like you won't have a problem, you know, for the most part. I mean, it may be tough. There'd be days that like, oh, I just don't want to go. But, you know, I think that it's a mind game too. And it does really delicious things, you know, to kind of make you feel more confident. And a lot of when a woman's out walking on the street or whatever, I think, or whatever.
Ooh, caught it.
But I didn't do it many times this time.
I think it was the only one.
It might have been two, because I did, circle it twice here. But body language is very key when you're out and about. You don't want to look like a mark. And I think that, there's a lot of things that you can do to not put yourself in a bad situation. And there's ways you can protect yourself and little tips that women should know. But I think that if you train in martial arts, you do get a certain stance and a sense of confidence. And I think maybe you're less of a mark.
Yeah.
Because, my biggest tool, if someone ever tried to jump me or whatever, is the element of surprise, because they have no idea.
Yeah, they don't know what you know. Yeah. And it's funny because I've always had, it's funny, a sixth sense of when something's about to go down. I could always tell when there was a fight going on the other side of campus. I'm like, I'll be right back. I know there's a fight going on right there. So I think it's one of those things that the more you pick up on martial arts, the more you train, the more you get this extra sense of the energy in the room or what's gonna happen or what could happen, where you might be going out to the bar having fun, whatever, but you still start keeping an eye on that person over there or those two over there. Yeah. Something's going on over there. At least if you have that kind of presence of mind. Yeah. Some people don't have that wherewithal to pay attention to what's going on. But when you have that situational awareness, or at least you start feeling like something's not right over there, I'm going to pay attention to what's going on there. I'll still do my thing. But I think that's part of the other thing on martial arts is if you've never been that kind of a person, you can start picking that stuff up, or you can start seeing what's going on there.
Yeah, it does make you more cognizant of your surroundings and just the vibe. And and especially when you have little drills where it's like 4-on-1, go. Yeah.
It's called a gang fight, Kim. We don't do those. We don't jump people in jiu-jitsu. Well, that's not true. We do jump people in class sometimes. That's fine. Do you remember after you started doing martial arts when things kind of click for you where like I say, the bug bit you on, this is what I want to do?
I think one of the things that really kicked in for me, I was a brown belt, so I had been doing it for some time. But it was the only time I ever did a competition. I ended up winning a first place trophy in kata and in sparring. Nice. It was my first time out. And to be fair, there weren't a lot of people over 18. And I was certainly over 18 when I did it too. But I would they said, well, and I had to compete with some of the men. And again, it was a smaller group, so I had an advantage there. But just to be able to and I won. And the girl that I fought, she was 18, and it was in the final round. Like, one of us was going to get first place, one was get second place, and she's looking at me like, oh, you're like somebody's mom, because the kids were there. She's going, I'm going to fight you. Okay. And she kept going on. And I said, so how long have you been training? She said, oh, since I was 4. And she was going on and on and on. And I easily beat her. And people were coming up after me and saying, would you compete in our tournament? Would you compete? And it was like, no. You
became the hand of karma incarnate. Nice.
Yeah. It was just really funny. It's like, wow, this is really fun. I knew I would probably never do it again, but it made me just really feel happy for all those years that I had put in to kind of get to that point, because you spar with people in your dojo, but after a while, what they're going to do every time. I know that person is always going to do a low kick and then they're going to go high. And so it was actually fun to fight complete strangers. I didn't know their game plan. I didn't know if they were good or bad. That was really interesting. So.
That's awesome. Are there any photos from this competition?
Oh, I don't know. There might be.
Yes, there is. Don't even lie. For sure there is. I gotta see
Yeah,
some of
the
these.
trophies.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that for the thumbnail for the video for YouTube. Yeah, we're definitely gonna use those. You know what's funny? I was gonna send you a video the other day. Did you? I mean, the last couple of years of Van Halen when they had David Lee Roth back, and did you see how David Lee started doing like his little katas and everything like
Yeah,
during the show? Did you
yeah.
ever watch when they did Jimmy Kimmel Live?
No,
So I didn't know this because I remember watching clips of it, but when they went to start the show, they were just going to do a couple of songs. David Lee Roth comes out and he has a staff and he starts doing this whole thing with the staff. He's like twirling it while he's singing. And then he wails himself in the nose with the staff,
Ooh.
just cracks his nose in half. And he's still singing there and wiping blood from his nose. It's just going the whole time thinking, why would you do that? What would make you bring a weapon on stage when you have to perform? You can barely hit the notes anymore, bud. Why would you sit there and have the staff around? And he just wails his face. So it was camera from somebody in the stands or whatever, just watching it. And he was just pouring blood, just sitting there doing his karate kata. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's insane. But he came back 5 minutes later and continued with the show.
He's a trooper.
Listen, go for it. So are you excited for the concert?
Yeah, I am. I've never seen them live.
Oh man, I would definitely suggest.
I've never seen live. So yeah, I'm really, and I've been listening to all the Spotify playlists and stuff like, thank you for sending yours. And I asked another person on staff, I said, send me yours, because she's a huge fan too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been great. And I was in a band at the time out in LA when they were doing the Black album. In fact, we were in the same dive rehearsal studio as they were.
Wow.
So we never actually saw, we never ran into them. But so yeah, it was a really divey area, but everyone like worked in this one place of North Hollywood. It was just because it was near NoHo and some of the best sushi up the street. So there was always, big bands there at the time. So, but I liked them before that too. I don't look like a typical Metallica fan, but I just love.
You'd be surprised. There's a lot of different.
Love how they're just cool. I love the time signatures. I love the way James sings and plays just so hard, and Lars is amazing. I mean, and I liked it when Jason Newsted was in the band, and I like the other iterations as well. But yeah, it's gonna be great.
I drove past James's house when I was in Vail, and I didn't even know it. So I knew he lived up there, but I didn't see him, obviously. And it's funny, Jason, I don't know if he still does, but he had a house up in Vero Beach up here. Mm-hmm. So he was like about an hour away. I'm like, man, it'd be great to get him to do the podcast. I would love to sit there and he's got to have more stories than anybody else, because I have a feeling he would actually share the stories. Everybody else would keep their mouth shut. I've heard a couple of stories about the band and stuff, certain things. I'm like, but yeah, the shows, every time that I've seen them has always been amazing. The last time I saw them was, I want to say 2013. No, they did a show in Hollywood, Florida, and it was delayed by an hour, 2 hours. And I come to find out after the fact, there was a bomb threat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they didn't tell anybody. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, the show was full of explosives and fire and stuff like that. It was a great show. But yeah, no, for sure, bring earplugs. And I mean, everything that I've seen so far, I'm curious. That's the next thing. I'm curious what the stage layout and everything is going to be. Because if it's going to be the Metallica stage layout, or it's going to be something different for your fights and whatever. So I'm kind of really curious how it's going to be.
Well, it's going to be at Globe Life Field, which is a pretty new stadium. It's where the Texas Rangers play. And it's open air or a closed arena. And I think they're using a good portion of the baseball field for both the triangle ring and stages nearby. But I know 𝗦𝗽ecie𝘁𝗃𝘁𝘁, who's just a fantastic human being. Must I give a shout out to Nigel? He's like just the nicest person and so funny and creative. And yeah, it's a really good group of people. And it's going to be a fun night, I think.
When are you?
A long night.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I'm so excited. I was gonna fly in Thanksgiving Day. I was like, I don't know if I want to risk it, but I'll come in Thursday morning. When are you leaving?
Really early Friday morning. And
No,
so,
I mean like afterwards.
Sunday at like 2:30, something like that.
Gotcha. All right.
Or maybe 3, I don't know.
You're just taking right off. I'm staying there like an extra day just to go drive around. I haven't been to Texas in a while. I love Texas. I was this close to moving to Texas.
Oh, yeah.
At the beginning of the year, I had Texas, Montana, or Puerto Rico. I was either going to go to actual Texas and work or just go live off the grid in Montana. Like, I'm done. I'm done with all this. Forget all this crap. Screw it. I'm going to go wrestle bison out in the woods. I'm done with this. What do you have planned for Thanksgiving?
Just, making a feast here.
Yeah.
And then, going to bed early because I have to wake up in the middle of the night to make a 6:40 flight.
Listen, that's the life that we chose. That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. How about you? Do you have a big family meal on Thanksgiving?
No, you know what? It's we didn't do Thanksgiving for years once we moved here. We had no clue, didn't really understand it. And then it kind of dawned on us. It's like, oh, it's all about food. We can have a ton of food today. So then we started doing it. There's so many mistakes that we've done with turkey. And my dad said, I'll make the turkey this year. He did the turkey one year. So you've had asado before, like Argentinian steak. They use a lot of salt. So my dad went with that approach and he's like, we'll just use a lot of salt, but it's a big turkey. So use a lot of salt. This turkey was when there's crispy and then there's a bulletproof shell. My dad figured out how to make turkey skin a bulletproof shell. You could snap it like a cookie. I can't eat this. I don't know what this is. I can't eat it. So it became every year it's something different. I brought a turducken one year. That one went over okay. The only thing we haven't done is deep fried turkey.
I was just gonna say, have you done the deep fried? Oh, you do it. You're never gonna do it.
I've had it.
My oldest brother was always the person that would do the deep fried one. It's amazing.
It's dangerous.
Yeah,
it's definitely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. Yeah. There's so many people that go to the hospital on Thanksgiving because of deep fried turkey. Still worth it. Still worth it.
Still worth it.
Yeah. The big one for us is really Christmas. Christmas has become a Iron Chef type challenge thing for us, which I am undefeated.
Oh, wow.
4 years in a row. So I'm just throwing that out there. No humble brag. So we try to do it. We'll make a theme for it every year. And that's what everybody brings one of. Undefeated.
A theme like a certain cuisine or a certain style of food or what?
Right. So we'll say that the first couple of years was desserts to see who could make the best dessert, which my sister was obsessed with making cakes for years. I completely crushed her. She was so mad. I crushed her. And then we did food, which like the actual meal. And then I made my pizza, which I went above and beyond on my pizza. Nobody could touch that. Everybody tried to do something different. And then last year we went back to, I guess it was kind of dessert, but the theme was sushi. My dad wanted to do sushi. He's like, I'll make sushi for everybody. Like, sir, you don't know the slightest thing about rice and making sushi. So what happened? He didn't make anything. My mom cooked something else, but I still went with dessert and I made dessert sushi, which actually was really, really good. I basically took Rice Krispie treats, and then started using fruit to make it look like sushi. So a little like salmon. It was actually like a raspberry like thing on top. So it came out so good. Rice Krispie treats for dessert is underrated. Just throwing that out there.
Clever.
So what's the plan then after Triad Combat? What's your next big challenge?
Just a busy December. There's always more events that are coming up. I mean, it just doesn't stop. And, last year at New Year's Eve, we had Kiss 2020 Goodbye with live Kiss, from Abu Dhabi. I don't know if anything's going to sneak in at the last moment like that.
Don't say that.
There might be something, for New Year's Eve. That's usually not a good day for pay-per-view. I remember UFC would always try, or they would do like a marathon. It's like, just never really. People they're just doing other things. They're not pay-per-view, I guess.
I guess it's basically the market's cornered on events for New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think people they would rather just drink or go somewhere. So
it is what it is. Do you have an idea or a guesstimate of how many events you're probably going to have next year?
Oh, I think we'll have even more than this. I mean, we usually do about 1,000 events a year. So I think what we're going to try and do is maybe do fewer, like really small ones, though, because there's starting to be bigger ones that just take more time. So just to be more economical and the manpower that we have, because we're still pretty small. We added a few people. We'll probably, build out some more at some point. I know Triller is always, hiring a bunch of people too, for different areas. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of activity next year.
Yeah, you said that like, yeah, I'm gonna. It's like it just sunk in. It just sunk in like.
Exactly.
It's good. Listen,
right.
It's a good problem to have.
It is. I'm blessed to have that kind of problem. So
you work for it. That's for sure. You're one of those people that, like I said, I pay attention to just because of how much you do and that you're passionate about the stuff that you do. So that's inspiring to me more, being around people like that. So keep doing what you're doing. But guys, I'm going to let you go because I know you got a lot of stuff going on and you got to enjoy your Sunday before you get back to the hecticness of your life. Make sure you check out FITE TV on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Go to FITE.tv. Go subscribe. Is there going to be a special? We got a Black Friday special? Just throwing that out there. I don't know. Just asking, just in case.
What kind of special?
I don't know. Is there like a special going on? Or you said the year is going to be $39?
Well, the special is Triad Combat for $299 a month. That's our Black Friday special, right? And
you might end up seeing like Kim and I partying in the back. So when you get the pay-per-view, so that's $299.
With Lars.
Yeah. No, not with Lars. I don't want to go anywhere near Lars. No way. That guy's nuts. I'll go hang out with Rob or something.
Okay.
He looks like
more normal.
Yeah. But go check out FITE TV. Make sure you guys pick up Triad Combat. I'll be there in person with Kim. Definitely we're going to have a good time. Kim, thanks so much for doing this. I know you got a tight schedule, but lunch is on me in Texas. We'll get some Tex-Mex. I think we both need a drink. Yeah, let's get the barbecue. We're going to go for barbecue. You got any suggestions on barbecue in Dallas? Let me know. Thanks, Kim.
All right. It was great.
I'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, everyone. A big thank you from the bottom of my heart to Kim for taking the time out to come on the podcast and spend almost 2 hours talking with me. I know how insane this week is for her. Fight week, or anytime you have an event coming up, especially a new event, for us marketing people, it's always hectic. So for her to take the time to sit down really means a lot to me. Big thank you again to her. Guys, go check out FITE.tv. Check out the Triad Combat this week in Dallas, Texas. If you can make it, great. If not, go to FITE.tv. Sign up for the Triller Fight Club. It's only $2.99. That's a steal considering the fact that you're going to get to watch an awesome night of fights, and you'll get to see a Metallica concert. What do you got to lose? Big thank you once again. Go check out FITE TV. Check out all of our sponsors, and I hope to see you guys next week after Thanksgiving. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Stay safe, stay healthy. Big shout out to my big man Sean. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us this week, but he's spending time with Nana and everyone else. So a big shout out to Nana. Thumbs up for Nana. Hit the like and the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys all next week. What's up, everybody? Alex here, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been supporting the podcast. And if this is your first time here and you'd like to support the podcast, hit the little notification bell below and the subscribe button. It's one click for you, but it's actually a big help to us to keep the podcast growing, which is all that we want to do, is keep on providing you with some amazing jiu-jitsu content, grappling content, and just keep you guys laughing and having fun. With that being said, this podcast is brought to you by all of our awesome sponsors. Check out 𝗶𝗧𝘂𝘆𝘀. Go to 𝗶𝗂𝘆𝘂.com and use the promo code Jiu-Jitsu Radio at checkout to get 20% off some of the best gear in Jiu-Jitsu. Whether you're looking for patches, hats, t-shirts, stickers, you name it, they got it, and you'll get it all at a great discount. So it doesn't matter if it's brand new or on sale, you will still get the full 20% discount at checkout when you use the promo code Jiu-Jitsu Radio. Also, don't forget that just because your jiu-jitsu stinks doesn't mean that you have to. Go to jujitsusoapco.com, use the promo code JJRadio at checkout, and you'll get 15% off all of their soaps, their entire line. It doesn't matter what you buy, your entire cart will get 15% off. Hygiene is number one, so don't forget to check out all the accessories, all the other stuff that they have, for whether it's bath bombs or anything for your gi. They have some amazing products, and you'll get it at an awesome price when you use the promo code JJRadio at checkout. Finally, have you been watching all these pros compete and wonder, damn, where do they get all these custom patches put and heat pressed onto their gis? You can't find the right company, or maybe you thought you found a company and they ended up just leaving you hanging. Well, it doesn't happen with AJG Fight. Go to Instagram or Facebook, look up AJG Fight, and you will get the best prices, the best quality on customized heat transfer patches for your competition gi. Whether you want it on your gi, on your rash guard, your fight shorts, you name it, they can do it. Hit them up, let them know we sent you, you'll get taken care of. It's a small mom and pop run organization, so when you support them, you're supporting jiu-jitsu from the ground up. AJG Fight on Instagram and on Facebook. Now, with that being said, one last thing, please don't forget to check us out on Instagram, TikTok. Visit jujitsuradio.com to get all the latest stuff of everything that we're working on. Also, don't forget to check me out on Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/𝗏𝗏𝘅𝗏𝗏 and join me for some amazing gaming. We go anything from Modern Warfare to Sea of Thieves to even some Mario, Kaizo Mario, for those of you that know. If you don't, check it out. I also go on there to do some fight breakdowns, some grappling breakdowns. People have been sending me their matches for us to break down live on the stream. So if you got those videos, send them my way. I'd love to stream it and check it out live on the air with you guys.